Hi everyone, welcome to the 119th episode of the Ask Dr. Khan Show. I'm Dr. Peter Khan, functional medicine practitioner, and my practice helps people with chronic health conditions overcome the condition by identifying the underlying root cause of disease, which many times is environmental toxicity, food sensitivity, underlying infections, and toxins. So in today's episode, I'm going to continue the discussion on thyroid, which we have been doing for the past several episodes. Been getting great response and great feedback on those shows. So if you missed those, go and scroll back to the timeline. You can watch previous episodes on my Facebook page. And if you're not following or liking my page, please do, because you're going to get a notification when I come on live again. And also you can watch all of my video that's all archived in our YouTube channel, which is at Peter Khan DC. Or you can just type Dr. Peter Khan when you're in YouTube. So today we're going to talk about fuel delivery. Okay, specifically, I have discussed in the past this concept of a roadmap. This is so important. This roadmap is basically how you're going to be able to know where do you stand now and where do you need to go and how long it's going to take for you to get there and what's the sequence of action you should take. What to do first, what to do second, what to do third. So you're not confused. See, the typical presentation of people with thyroid problem. Remember, when I talk about thyroid problem, roadmap for thyroid, the first thing you got to understand is that most people with thyroid problem have hashimotos. Research shows about 90%. Okay, so meaning that if you have a thyroid problem, 90% chance that is due to some type of autoimmune issue where your immune system's attacking your thyroid gland. Now the problem is conventional medical treatment ignore the autoimmune component of the disease. They just want to prescribe you some kind of hormone. You go to a natural alternative practitioner, they do the same thing. They want to give you a bioidentical hormone and call it all good. Taking hormone does not address the autoimmune part of your condition. So regardless whether you need the hormone or you don't, you still need to address the autoimmunity. And a lot of times people think that taking the thyroid medicine is addressing the Hashimoto. It does not, folks. You got to understand that. Now, the problem with Hashimoto also is that the symptom of Hashimoto and thyroid problem can overlap many other conditions. For example, the symptom of thyroid or Hashimoto is fatigue, brain fog, can't lose weight. Guess what? Diabetes look just like it, okay? If you have, say, other conditions like if you have adrenal fatigue, looks like you have fatigue and stuff like that as well. What about if you have leaky gut? That can look like it. What if you have, other autoimmune diseases like celiac or pernicious anemia? It can look just like this. So because the symptoms overlap with many conditions, you have to have a roadmap. Otherwise, you're going to be chasing symptoms all day and taking a bunch of pills. Right? Many people with thyroid or Hashimoto's have a pantry full of supplements that they take, and usually people tell me that, Dr. Khan, I take all the supplements because my previous guy told me, or Dr. Google, internet tells me to take it because they say it's good for me. But remember, what they say on the internet, it may be good for somebody, but it may not be good for you because everybody's different. So I get people coming to me who's been everywhere, done everything, tried everything else, medicine's not working, then they swing all the way to the other side, try to take some natural supplements, and it still doesn't work, and they say, Dr. Khan, I take so much supplement, and I react to all of them. It's because you have Hashimoto's. Your immune system is overreactive and attacking your own thyroid gland, and you're reacting to multiple foods, multiple chemicals, multiple supplements because your immune system is the problem, and taking more supplement is not the solution to your problem. If you're already taking 5, taking 10 won't make it better. If you're already taking 10, taking 20 won't make things better. In fact, it's going to make things worse. Your goal should be to laser target using a roadmap, which I'll talk about one of the pieces of the roadmap in today's show. You need to target it with specific testing. But remember, test is not the end-all be-all. Test does not abdicate the doctor's responsibility to think. You still have to think about the whole context of your symptom, your history, everything else you have going on, other conditions you may have, and put it together with the lab. That's how it's supposed to work. And you can't do that in a 5-10 minute doctor office visit. You just can't do it. You can't do it in a managed care model of treating a symptom with a drug. You can't do it. So that's why so many people with thyroid Hashimoto continue to suffer with brain fog, fatigue, weight loss, weight gain, hair loss, cold hand, cold feet, dry skin, all these symptoms, and they don't feel better. And you kind of just start to, that's your new normal. Feeling suboptimal and feeling terrible is your new normal. And you don't even know how to feel normal anymore. And you say, I'm just getting old. BS. If you say it's getting old, then you can't change it. But you can absolutely change it, just nobody taught you how. So that's why you're watching this show. So please follow my Facebook page, my YouTube channel for more great content so I can teach you how to do that. And if you need help, we consult with clients throughout the globe and US through video consultation so you can get help no matter where you are. You can get access to high quality care, okay? So let's talk about the roadmap. So one of the first things that we need to address in roadmap is fuel delivery. That is so important because a lot of time people want to jump ahead, right? You want to jump ahead to doing the hormones. You want to jump ahead to taking some exotic supplement. You want to jump ahead to, doing heavy metals. But you got to address the basic foundations of your health, which is fuel delivery. What does fuel delivery entail? Well, it entails blood sugar and oxygen. So today, we're going to talk specifically about oxygen, okay? Because it's underdiagnosed and undertreated, and it's underestimated in conventional medicine. Anemia and thyroid problem is underestimated in conventional medicine because often it's not checked correctly. They don't do all the tests. They just base it on your red blood cell, and that's not enough. Red blood cell hemoglobin on your CBC panel is not enough. Or many times it's not even checked at all, which is even more of a problem because they don't put an importance on it. But we got to start because you know why people don't do all the workup? Because they just don't want to do the work, whatever the reason is. Maybe the insurance doesn't pay them to do things. So again, insurance is kind of like what's hampering this whole process. Because if you're waiting for insurance to cover something, they'll never cover it. Their job is to cover as little as possible. Not what you need, as little as possible. So they can save money, and that's generating profit for the insurance company. Their job is not to cover what you need. So you got to just get out of that mindset that insurance is going to get you there. Okay. Second thing is if you say, hey, my doctor checked everything. No. You send that report to me. When we work together, you have a case review. I do a whole records review of your previous lab tests. I'm going to look at it myself because oftentimes they never did it. They just say everything's normal. When they say everything's normal, they don't even tell you all the numbers and demonstrate to you. They basically didn't order everything. So you don't know. So that's what I do with a case review to help you get clarity so you know what's been done, what's not been done, what are the blind spots so you can get the proper help. So important, okay? So let's talk about oxygen for a second. Specifically with oxygen, there's three things you got to look at. Blood pressure. Let's write it out for you. Blood pressure. You got to make sure your blood pressure is just right. Now, a lot of times people think blood pressure, oh, I don't have high blood pressure. I'm not talking about high blood pressure. I'm talking about low blood pressure. Low blood pressure is just as, if not more insidious than high blood pressure. Sure, high blood pressure is not good. If you have chronically elevated blood pressure, it's going to be a stroke, cardiovascular risk, dementia risk. If you have low blood pressure, though, it's just as bad because when you have low blood pressure, that means you have no pressure in the hose to deliver blood to your tissue, and that's called perfusion. You need to have proper perfusion to get fuel, right? By blood flow and pressure, you can deliver fuel and exchange waste material. You gotta have perfusion. If you have low blood pressure, you don't have perfusion, it ain't gonna work. So how do you check that? Get your own blood pressure cuff. Get a BP cuff. You can buy one from the drugstore on Amazon for like 30, 40 bucks. Now, it doesn't matter, well, it's not that accurate. It's pretty darn accurate, okay? And you're using the same cuff that you're measuring all the time. So you're just comparing from the same device, try to do it at the same time every day, like first thing in the morning when you wake up. Then it's gonna be accurate because you're just tracking your own progress. So, or when you feel dizzy, lightheaded, or you get up too fast, you feel dizzy, lightheaded, if you get those symptoms a lot, then you might want to check your blood pressure when you feel dizzy, lightheaded to see if it's actually low. And if it is, then you know your dizzy, lightheadedness is caused by low blood pressure, which is going to cause problems because your body can't heal. It's going to negatively impact your thyroid. You must address that first before even taking thyroid hormone, because if you have low blood pressure, taking thyroid hormone won't really help you feel better. Okay? Second thing you got to check is circulation. circulation can be checked by just feeling cold hands, cold feet. Cold hand, feet, or your nose is cold, right? So my hand, feet's cold, and my nose is always cold. That means you probably have poor circulation. Other signs of poor circulation, maybe you have fungal nail growth. Okay, your nail just don't grow right? Because your nail needs blood flow and circulation to deliver nutrients so you can grow proper nail. So if you have fungal toenails, your nail just don't grow right, you have ridges on them, that may be a circulation problem. Or you may have numbness tingling. You may have numbness tingling. That could be a circulation problem, but could be a neuropathy problem, a nerve problem, a separate problem. Again, many of these conditions overlap, so you got to take a very good history. That's where the doctor part comes in, someone with experience that actually can think like this. It's not rushed in a 10-minute visit to be able to identify these things. And you may have cramping in the leg, cramping, restless leg syndrome. These are all circulation signs. So we got to check that. Now, one way you can also check this, you can check the oxygenation is by using an O2 saturation device. O2 saturation. So it's called a pulse oximeter. Okay, so you can buy a pulse oximeter, again, from Amazon, from Walgreens. They're about $50 also. Again, it's not important that it's super accurate. You just got to be in the ballpark. And you're just looking to see what your pulse is. You put this device on your finger, it's going to measure your oxygen saturation rate. It'll also tell you about your heart rate too, but the oxygen saturation rate is what you're looking for. And ideally, you want it to be 98% or higher to be optimal. Really, the higher the better, right? If you're below 98, it's not that great. Okay? If you're 95, it's not good enough. If you're like a 92, 90, it's getting pretty serious there. Because in the hospital, they probably won't even release you from the hospital if your O2 saturation is 92, 90%. They'll keep you there. They say you can't go yet. You have no oxygen. Your O2 saturation is low. So just kind of get an idea where you are can be very helpful. So you want to check your blood pressure. You want to check your circulation. Is it cold all the time? And again, thyroid problem can contribute to all these issues. Last thing you want to check is anemia. Now, this is not something you can necessarily check yourself. You have to have blood tests by your doctor or myself, doctor who practice functional medicine, who will look at this very carefully. Now, there's a big difference when you're checking for anemia. There's two different terminologies here. Okay, let me write this out for you. There's iron deficiency, and then there's anemia. Okay? Iron deficiency is not the same as anemia. They're two different things. You can be iron deficient without being anemic. You can be anemic without being deficient in iron. Aren't they the same thing? No, they're not the same because there are many different types of anemia. Okay? So we have things like you have red blood cell. Okay? So the red blood cell size can be larger or smaller. You can have a red blood cell that's larger and that has a lot of color in it, very red, a lot of hemoglobin, or not that red, more red, less red. Same thing here. You can have one that's smaller, less red, smaller, more red. You can even have them small or large, but the same color, or the color's not as normal. So why am I telling you this? Because there's different conditions and different nutrient deficiencies that can cause the red blood cell size to change. For example, typically in your macrocytic anemia, macrocytic means micro, small, meaning macrocytic means small size. When the red blood cells shrink, that's called small size. Typically, it's caused by iron deficiency. Okay? When the red blood cells swell, gets bigger, that's called macrocytic anemia. Now, macrocytic anemia, typically it's caused by B12 deficiency or folate deficiency. So depending on what's going on with your red blood cell size, we can have a pretty good understanding of whether you're iron deficient or you're B12 folate deficient. Okay? And this is on your red blood cell, your CBC panel, on your blood test. We can look at your CBC, and we can look at your red blood cell size, mean corpuscular volume, mean corpuscular hemoglobin. We can look at your hemoglobin, obviously, and red blood cell, hematocrit. So all these things have to be looked at very, very closely. Now, in addition to just the CBC, where they check your red blood cell, hemoglobin, hematocrit, MCV, MCH. These are different markers on your red blood CBC complete blood count panel, your regular blood count panel. We also need to do ferritin and iron. A lot of times people just check iron. You also need to check ferritin. Checking iron without checking ferritin basically is like not checking it at all, because 99% of all the iron in your blood is in the form of ferritin. That's like your storage iron. And it's a better indicator of your overall body iron status than iron itself. So you need to check ferritin and iron, and then TIBC, which is total iron binding capacity. And then obviously you got to check your iron saturation rate in your blood. So these are all the tests you got to do on your blood test. That's just part of it. Okay, you also got to check your protein level, globulin level to see if you're absorbing food, leaky gut panel. You got to look at all of that and take a good history as well, right? To see if there's these things happening, to identify the possibility of having anemia. So some people have anemia because they have low color, not hemoglobin, but it's not because of iron deficiency. It's because of B12 folate deficiency. So in those cases, it's not an iron deficiency. Just because you say anemia doesn't mean it's always iron. So I'm telling you a lot, but I just want you to understand it's more than just meets the eye. People tend to simplify things, doctors oversimplify things where the meaning is lost. So my job is to give you accurate information so you know that there's more than just anemia. There's many different types. You need to look at the different types and actually address it specifically. Okay, that's really important. Now, another thing is that in people with thyroid, remember back to the thyroid, we're talking about thyroid and Hashimoto's. Now, what I've seen in my practice, a lot of people with thyroid and Hashimoto have anemia patterns. And that's why we're talking about oxygenation today. A lot of people have anemia. And people will say, man, every time I have tests done, doctor tell me I'm always anemic. So you're taking iron forever, and you may not even need iron, because it may not be the iron problem. That's the whole point, is that you can have anemia not because you're iron deficient, because there's other reasons that you can have iron deficiency, or you can have anemia in people with thyroid problems. So what are some other problems? So these are anemia, or I should write, causes of anemia in thyroid problems. Okay? Let me write down some possible causes. One is bone marrow suppression. I see this a lot. There's two main reasons why you may have bone marrow suppression. Number one, inflammation, cytokines. Okay? Cytokines, if you didn't hear me talk about cytokines in previous episodes, just go back for the past 2-3 shows. You'll be able to catch me talking about cytokines. These are immune messengers that trigger basically inflammation. In fact, they're called inflammatory cytokines. Now, there are many different types, but there are specific types called inflammatory cytokines that trigger inflammation. These guys can actually suppress the bone marrow and make you anemic, cause you to not make enough red blood cell or even white blood cell. So you see people, oh, my white blood cell count is always low. My doctor says it's always low. This could be one of the things that can suppress that. Okay? Another thing that can suppress bone marrow is heavy metal toxicity. Heavy metals tend to store in the bone because bone marrow is spongy, and many of these metals are lipophilic, meaning they are attracted to fat. Once they get into the bone marrow, they can suppress bone marrow function and lead to decreased red blood cell production and white blood cell production. We'll see that on lab tests. So those are two possible causes. So you can take iron telecalcium home, you're still going to be anemic until you address this bone marrow issue, which is caused by inflammation and heavy metal. So got to address the root cause, folks. The anemia is not the root cause. Anemia is a sign what's causing the anemia. I just gave it to you. That's one possible cause. The other one is erythropoietin production. So erythropoietin is basically the part of the cells that make the actual red blood cell. Now this could be both in the kidney or bone marrow. They can have problem in both areas. Again, heavy metal toxicity is really common in those areas, or other inflammatory issues can damage those areas and cause you to not able to make red blood cell as well. Another is You can have problem with anemia in thyroid conditions due to just absorption issues. So therefore, you're not absorbing the iron, the B12, and the folate, even though you're taking it. So many of my clients come to me already taking a chalk handful of supplements, loaded with iron, B12, folate. They're still anemic because you're not absorbing them. So don't just take something, identifying the root cause, find out if you're even absorbing them. So what can cause absorption issues? Leaky gut can cause absorption issues. Low gastric HCl, if you don't make enough stomach acid, you may not be able to absorb iron, which require acid to absorb. So you can have various different type of absorption issue, or gut infections even. So absorption issue can cause you to not be able to, to have anemia. Then you can also obviously have, other diseases. Sometimes you're just chronically ill. You have high blood pressure, cholesterol, and GERD, and all the stuff, and Hashimoto, and thyroid, and rheumatoid arthritis. You just have anemia of chronic disease. Sometimes we'll see that as well. But most of the time, again, that's just a terminology. What's anemia of chronic disease? Just means that this person is sick. They're inflamed. That's why they are always inflamed, because of the chronic. You can't attribute to any one specific disease, but underneath all disease, there's inflammation. Then you need to identify the root cause of that inflammation. Okay, so hopefully this helps you. If you have any questions, please put it in the comment section. I answer every comment myself, so I can be of value and service to you. And if you need help, if you need a logical and rational approach to your health, rather than just a Band-Aid with a pill, and you need help from someone like me, please reach out. You can message us on Facebook, or you can email us at info@askdrkhan.com. We can get you set up for a case review, where we're going to identify what may be the cause of your problem, look at previous lab work, and really help you set a plan in motion so we get you clarity, we'll get you to rid the confusion and rid the pain and the symptoms, so you can start to feel better, but not just feel better symptomatically, but also understand how you got better by teaching you how to do a lot of this stuff. Okay, we're going to be working very closely together, and that's how we like it. We want a very close relationship with our clients, and our clients tend to stay with us year after year, because after they have a consult with me, they just no other doctor visit will do anymore, because it's so detailed that you just couldn't go back anymore. Okay, so not saying that to pat my back, I'm saying that to be so that there's a service here that's very valuable that you can have access to. Doesn't matter where you are, you just gotta request a case review, because we can work with you no matter where you are through video consultations. We have a virtual practice, and it's working great for our clients who are participating in that. You can see over 120 video testimonials at askdrkhan.com. So again, thank you so much for watching. Please like and share this video with people who need to hear it. And I look forward to seeing you next week at the Ask Dr. Khan Show. Take care.